Stop right now, you need to hear this, because it's not just another video. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to carry an undeniable light, a power that others can't explain? It's not luck. It's not coincidence. There's an invisible mark upon them, something that sets them apart, and you are one of those people. Chosen one, from a young age, you faced battles that would have broken anyone else, yet you rise every time. You are not ordinary, and your strength is not of this world. But here's the truth that many can't see. To challenge a chosen one is to challenge destiny itself. And when destiny is on your side, it always wins. But for those who dare to oppose you, the consequences will be unlike anything they've ever known. Their lives will unravel in ways they can't explain, as if an invisible force is pushing them to their breaking point. They will face disturbances, strange events, and obstacles that seem to appear out of nowhere until they are forced to confront the supernatural power that surrounds you. Today, I'm going to reveal the 9 dark fates that await anyone who dares to challenge the chosen ones, because standing against those who carry the light is not just a bad idea, it's a sentence to downfall. Stay with me, because this message will open your eyes to the unseen forces at play. If you're ready to step into your divine purpose, and you believe that nothing can stop what God has already chosen, type "Nothing can stop what God has already chosen" in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe, and activate the bell. This is the place where truth awakens your soul. Now, are you ready to learn about the fates that await those who dare to challenge you? God's chosen ones. 9 dark fates await those who dare to challenge. You, chosen one, are not like the rest. A divine light burns within you, unseen to the world, but undeniable in its presence. The path you walk is one of purpose, of destiny woven by threads of divine intention. Yet, for all the beauty and promise of your calling, there are forces, unseen yet powerful, that seek to bend and break you. You must understand that this journey is not without cost, and as you step into the sacred light, the darkness watches. What would you do if you were told that 9 dark fates await those who dare to challenge God's chosen? Would you falter, or would you stand taller, resolute in your faith, even in the face of inevitable trials? The path of a chosen one is marked by hardship, but it is also one that leads to divine enlightenment. The first step is understanding the weight of your purpose. You carry something far greater than your own life, a light that illuminates the path for others, a beacon in a world drowning in shadows. And yet, the moment you become visible to the world of darkness, the enemies of your soul will seek to devour that light. The question is, how does one navigate this spiritual battlefield? As you walk this sacred path, you must know that the forces of darkness do not look at you as a mere mortal. No, they see something far more dangerous. They see a vessel of divine power, a soul chosen to manifest the light of the Creator. The demons see your light before your eyes even meet theirs. They are drawn to it like moths to a flame, but not in awe, in fear. It is a fear they cannot explain, a fear that shakes the very foundation of their existence. The moment they recognize you as God's chosen, something shifts. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6. Shah, do you feel it now? The invisible presence that stirs the air around you. It is the moment when your spiritual glow becomes undeniable, not just to you, but to the forces that seek to oppose you. This energy, this vibration, this is what marks you. You are seen, you are known. But with that visibility comes a price. As you continue on this journey, you'll face 9 distinct dark fates, each one designed to strip you of your purpose. The first is the temptation of doubt, a whisper in your ear, a seed planted in your heart that causes you to question if you truly belong to the light. The second is the trial of isolation, where the world turns its back on you and you stand alone in the face of overwhelming darkness. The third is the descent into despair, where the weight of the world threatens to crush you. The fourth, the betrayal of trust, will come from those you once called friends. And each fate will test you, bend you, and attempt to break your resolve. But know this, these fates are not meant to destroy you. They are designed to test your strength, to refine your soul like gold tested in the fire. As each fate comes upon you, ask yourself, who am I becoming in the face of this trial? Are you growing stronger, or are you allowing the shadows to diminish your light? It is in these moments of trial that you are called to rise. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 27:1. You must trust in the divine power within you, the power that the enemy fears. But even as you trust, remember that the forces of darkness are clever. They know that the power of God's chosen is not in the strength of the body, but in the strength of the Spirit. And so they will try to distract you, to lead you astray, to keep you focused on earthly things. The illusion of pleasure will tempt you, the desire for comfort and peace in the material world. But you must remember, peace is not found in possessions, but in purpose. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10:4. As you walk the path, be aware of those who would seek to lead you astray. The false prophet will appear, offering you shortcuts, false promises of safety. But you must remember, no path to greatness is without sacrifice. The true reward comes from enduring the trials and standing firm in your faith. There is a story of a young teacher, once filled with doubt, who wandered in search of purpose. He thought he had found peace in the comforts of the world, in possessions, in fleeting moments of pleasure. But as the days passed, a void remained, one that no earthly possession could fill. Only when he turned back to the light, when he embraced his divine calling, did he find peace that surpassed understanding. There will be moments when you feel the sting of betrayal, when those closest to you turn away. The deceit of the enemy will come from places you least expect, and the sting will be deep. But as you stand firm in your calling, you will find that these betrayals are not punishments, but the refining fire of your purpose. You will emerge from them stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the voice of your Creator. You will face rejection, you will face fear. But as you face these trials, remember this: your power lies not in avoiding them, but in how you rise through them. There is no fate, no darkness, no enemy that can overcome the light of God within you. But what is the lesson here? The lesson is this: you are not meant to walk this path alone. There are others, chosen like you, who walk beside you. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I with them. Matthew 18:20. Do not be afraid to share your story, to lean on those who understand the weight of the journey. For in the unity of God's chosen, there is strength. As you continue on this sacred path, do not fear the trials that come your way. Instead, embrace them. With each trial, your light will shine brighter, your purpose more evident. The world may try to extinguish your flame, but remember this truth: a light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. As you move forward, know this: you are not alone, you are chosen, you are strong, and above all, you are loved. The dark fates that await you are not punishments, they are opportunities for growth, refinement, and transformation. And with each step, you grow closer to the divine light that calls you. Now, take a deep breath. Let the peace of God's presence fill your heart. Feel the calm that comes when you realize that the path you walk is one of divine purpose, a purpose greater than yourself, greater than anything this world can offer. May you find peace in knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, walking in the light of your calling, untouched by the darkness that seeks to swallow you whole. When we talk about the chosen, Many people think of something distant, almost like a legend. We imagine figures cloaked in light, standing at the center of epic tales, far removed from the struggles of ordinary life. But the truth is, they are among us. They walk in our midst, often unnoticed by the world, living their lives like any other person. Yet, there's a subtle difference, an invisible mark that sets them apart from the crowd. This mark is not made by human hands, nor can it be earned with effort or money. It is placed there by something greater, a divine force that has already decided the path this person will follow. It's a strange and beautiful reality, this calling of the chosen. Those who are chosen by God are often misunderstood. They are not perfect beings, nor do they live flawless lives. On the contrary, they are the ones who seem to face the greatest trials, the most intense struggles. They fall, they fail, and they often endure hardships that seem impossible to overcome. But it is through these trials that they show the world their true strength. For no matter how many times they fall, they always rise again. And this is where the true power of the chosen lies, their ability to get back up. For a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. Proverbs 24-16. The harder the fall, the greater the return. The deeper the trial, the more glorious the victory. This is the mark of divine destiny, an unseen, unbreakable strength that resides within the chosen ones. Have you ever wondered why some people can endure so much and still stand firm? What is it that allows them to rise from the ashes of their failures stronger than before? It is not just human willpower. It is something more. It is divine grace, the unseen hand that pulls them out of the depths and sets them back on their feet. As the chosen ones walk through life, they will face challenges and obstacles that others cannot imagine. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. Psalm 34-19. The world will throw its darkest storms at them, but they will not be destroyed. They will be tested in ways that others cannot comprehend, but in the end, they will emerge victorious. Why? Because they are not walking alone. They walk with the Creator by their side, guiding their steps, protecting them from the snares of the enemy. But what is it that makes these trials so important? Why must the chosen endure such hardship? The answer lies in the transformation that comes from overcoming these trials. Each test, each fall, each hardship serves as a refining fire, a purification process. The chosen ones are not exempt from pain or suffering, but through their struggles they become stronger, more resilient, and more attuned to their divine purpose. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. Job 23:10. This process of refining is not easy, and it is not always understood by those around them. The chosen ones may feel isolated at times, as though no one can truly comprehend their journey. For the Lord will not cast off his people, neither will he forsake his inheritance. Psalm 94-14. But this feeling of isolation is not a curse, it is part of the divine calling. It is a reminder that their purpose is not rooted in the approval of the world, but in the will of God. They are called to walk a unique path, a path that requires courage, faith, and an unwavering trust in the Creator. What does it mean to be chosen? Does it mean that life will be easy, free from pain and suffering? Far from it. Being chosen means that you are destined for something greater, something far beyond the ordinary. You are called to stand firm in your faith, to rise above the trials of life, and to show the world what true strength looks like. The chosen are not immune to suffering, but they are empowered to endure it with grace and dignity, knowing that their strength comes not from themselves, but from the one who has called them. As the chosen ones face their battles, they carry with them an invisible shield. This shield is not made of metal or armor, but of divine protection. It is a shield that cannot be seen by human eyes, but it is felt in the Spirit. It is the power of God surrounding them, guarding their hearts and minds against the attacks of the enemy. This shield is what enables them to endure trials that would break others. It is what allows them to rise from the ashes again and again, no matter how many times they fall. But this shield does not make them invincible. It does not mean that they will never face defeat. Instead, it means that no matter what happens, they will always be able to rise again. The shield of divine protection is not a promise that life will be without struggle, but it is a promise that the chosen will never be abandoned. Even in their darkest moments, when they feel the weight of the world pressing down on them, they can trust that God is with them, strengthening them, guiding them toward victory. Do you ever feel like the weight of the world is too much to bear? Like you've fallen so far that there's no way to rise again? Know this: even in your lowest moments, you are not alone. The divine protection of God surrounds you. The strength to rise again is within you, just as it was within those who came before you, the chosen ones. You are part of something greater than yourself, a divine plan that has been unfolding since the beginning of time. The trials you face are not meant to break you. They are meant to shape you, to refine you into the person you were always meant to be. Each hardship, each obstacle, is a stepping stone on the path to your divine purpose. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. The chosen ones are not meant to be defeated. They are meant to stand firm in their faith, to rise above every trial, and to become a beacon of light in a dark world. As you walk this path, remember that you are not alone. There are others, chosen like you, who walk beside you. The strength you need to rise is already within you, placed there by the Creator. And when you fall, remember this: the harder the fall, the greater the return. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Psalm 37:23. So, when the trials come, and when the world seems to turn against you, remember, you are chosen, you are marked by the divine. You are protected by an invisible shield that will always allow you to rise again, no matter how many times you fall. And when you stand tall once more, let the world see the power of your resurrection. Let them see the strength that comes from the light within you. For the chosen ones are not just survivors, they are conquerors. But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians 15:57. It's as if the universe itself moves to ensure that the chosen one gets where they need to go. Their path may be lined with struggles, obstacles, and battles, but no matter how many times they are knocked down, there is an invisible force that ensures they rise again. And that's where the story begins to get scary for their enemies. Because fighting an ordinary person might bring temporary results, but when someone tries to destroy a chosen one, they are unwittingly waging war against what has already been decreed from above. Think about it for a moment. It's like trying to extinguish the sun with your hands or hold the wind inside a pot. Simply impossible. The chosen ones are not mere mortals. They are part of a divine plan, an eternal purpose that cannot be undone. It's a battle they were never meant to lose. No matter the number of attacks, the strength of the enemy, or the darkness that seeks to consume them, the chosen one carries an unshakable power within that even the fiercest storms cannot break. The mark that identifies the chosen one manifests itself in countless ways. Sometimes it's in the ability to rise again after a devastating loss that would destroy anyone else, a strength that seems to come from somewhere beyond human resilience. At other times, it's in the way unexpected doors open at just the right moment, an opportunity, a connection, a lifeline that seems to appear out of nowhere. Or perhaps it's in the way people come into their lives, offering help without asking for anything in return, as if guided by some unseen hand. Every step they take is accompanied by subtle signs that a higher purpose is at work, a force that moves everything in their favor, even when it seems like all hope is lost. In these moments, the chosen one may not even realize the magnitude of the protection and guidance that surrounds them. They may take these occurrences for granted, brushing off the miraculous as coincidence. But for those who are not chosen, these signs are undeniable evidence of something far greater than what the eye can see. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5-7. The chosen walk with a faith that transcends the physical realm, guided by the invisible hand of God. But this is where things take a darker turn for those who oppose them. Enemies may try to sabotage, weaken, or even destroy the chosen one, but they quickly discover they are facing something that goes far beyond the physical. They are challenging destiny itself, a force that has already been established by the Creator. And when someone fights against destiny, the result is never good. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Hebrews 10:31. This is not just a battle between two opposing forces. It is a war against the divine will, a battle between what has been preordained and what the enemy hopes to achieve through deceit, darkness, and destruction. The enemy may believe they can break the chosen, that they can weaken their resolve or disrupt their mission, but they are up against something far greater than their own power. The chosen one is part of a greater cosmic plan, and when someone attempts to destroy them, they are not only fighting a person, they are fighting the will of God. One of the first signs that the enemies of the chosen one experience is a deep disturbance within their own mind and heart. It is as if peace has simply been ripped from within them. At first, it may seem like something small, an unexplained anxiety, a lingering sense of unease, or a difficulty in relaxing. They may dismiss it as stress or as the weight of their own guilt and fear. But over time, this disturbance grows, becoming an increasingly heavy burden, one that they cannot escape. It is a relentless feeling of being pursued by something greater than themselves, something that they cannot outrun or avoid. The deeper this disturbance grows, the harder it becomes to ignore. It begins to affect everything in their life, relationships, work, and even their own sense of self. They start to question their motives, their actions, and their very purpose. This growing inner turmoil is a sign that the forces of darkness are being pushed back by the light of the chosen one. They may not see it, but the enemy is being exposed, their plans unraveling with every step the chosen takes forward. Have you ever experienced a sense of deep inner conflict, a feeling that something just wasn't right, but you couldn't put your finger on it? Imagine that feeling multiplied, as though the weight of the world is bearing down on you. The closer the chosen one gets to fulfilling their divine purpose, the more intense this disturbance becomes for their enemies. It's as if the very universe conspires to shift the energy around them, causing the plans of the wicked to falter and crumble under the pressure of divine will. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. This disturbance is not just a coincidence. It is the result of a higher power at work, the consequence of trying to stand in opposition to the divine will. The enemy, though powerful in their own right, is no match for the force that guides the chosen one. As the chosen continue on their path, their enemies are slowly but surely being undone, not by their own actions, but by the invisible hand of God that protects and guides those who walk in divine purpose. What does it mean to be up against something that cannot be stopped? What does it feel like to try and extinguish a force that cannot be quenched? The answer lies in the peace that the chosen one carries with them. Even in the face of opposition, the chosen one remains calm, knowing that they are not fighting alone. They are fighting with the full force of the divine behind them, a force that cannot be swayed or defeated. The chosen one's strength is not their own. It is a strength that flows from God, a power that no enemy can comprehend. For those who stand in opposition to the chosen, the consequences are clear. They will never find peace. Their efforts will be in vain. The more they try to disrupt the path of the chosen, the more they will feel the weight of their own disturbance. And eventually, they will come to understand the truth that no matter how hard they fight, they cannot fight against destiny. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. The chosen do not need to fight for themselves. They need only to trust in the power of God. Their role is to walk forward in faith, knowing that every battle they face, every enemy that rises up against them, is already won. And as they walk this path, they carry with them the peace that comes from knowing their victory is already assured. The enemies of the chosen will learn, too late, that they were not fighting a person but destiny itself. And when you fight destiny, you will always lose. Consciousness begins to become a battlefield. It starts as a faint whisper, a nagging sense that something is wrong. The enemy may try to live a normal life, to work, to smile, to pretend that everything is fine, but deep inside, they can't silence that voice. It torments them day and night, clawing at their peace, demanding attention. This is the price they pay for challenging a chosen one, a price they never expected to bear. Sleep, which should offer respite, ceases to be a comfort. Instead, it transforms into a restless void, one plagued by insomnia, nightmares, or waking up with a heavy feeling in the chest, as though something invisible is exacting its toll. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night, your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Psalm 32, 3-4. It's a curious and unsettling phenomenon. The more a person tries to resist, the stronger this disturbance becomes. It's as if their very mind knows something is terribly wrong. To mess with someone marked by fate is like trying to fight fire with bare hands. You cannot control it, and you cannot escape it. This guilt, this restless conscience, becomes a weightless prison, something invisible, but so oppressive that it feels as though it is physically crushing them. They may try to walk away, to outrun it, but no matter where they go, they carry this torment with them, like a shadow that never leaves. For the wicked are like the tossing sea, which cannot rest, whose waves cast up mire and dirt. Isaiah 57-20. What is this torment? What is it that makes the enemy suffer so deeply, despite their outward appearances of normalcy? The answer lies in the spiritual realm. It's not just psychological distress. It is a spiritual awakening, a response to an act that goes against what has already been determined. The more the enemy fights against destiny, the stronger the disturbance becomes. This inner chaos is not just the consequence of their actions, it is the manifestation of something far greater. They are not simply struggling with their conscience, they are in spiritual conflict. The universe itself responds to the disturbance they have caused by opposing the chosen one. For many, the torment is a silent affliction, something they cannot explain or understand. It begins subtly, as a low hum of anxiety, but over time it grows louder, more insistent. Even those who do not believe in spiritual matters are affected. The enemy may reject the idea of divine intervention. They may claim that they don't believe in a higher power or spiritual forces, but deep down they feel the weight of their actions. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. The discomfort, the dissonance, this deep, unshakable feeling of unease is not limited to the conscious mind. It permeates their entire being. It is the invisible response to the disruption they've caused, the invisible price they now have to pay. It's a spiritual reckoning, one that goes beyond personal belief or philosophy. No matter how hard the enemy tries to ignore it, no matter how loudly they claim to be unaffected, this inner chaos will not be silenced. Some attempt to distract themselves, hoping that work, parties, or addictions might numb the pain. They dive into their distractions with reckless abandon, hoping that the noise will drown out the quiet, persistent voice inside. But no distraction is sufficient. Nothing can mask the discomfort that has taken root in their soul. There is no peace for the wicked, says the Lord. Isaiah 48:22. Once the conscience has been touched, there is no escape. The disturbance will continue to grow, ever more unbearable, until it consumes them entirely. Sooner or later, the enemy finds themselves caught in the grip of their own guilt. They may feel as though they are paying a price for having stood against those who carry the mark of destiny. Every attempt to ignore it only makes the disturbance stronger. This is only the first step of their downfall. The torment becomes relentless, and it begins to erode the very foundation of their life. What happens when inner peace disappears? What happens when the mind is overcome by torment? It's as though the very fabric of their existence begins to unravel. Their life becomes a series of small setbacks, unexplainable accidents, missed opportunities, broken relationships. It is as if the universe itself has conspired to throw them off course. The steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. Psalm 37-23, 2-4. These setbacks are not mere coincidences. They are the natural result of opposing the divine will. The enemy may not see it this way at first. They may continue to convince themselves that they are in control. But as the disturbance intensifies, they begin to realize that something far greater than themselves is at work. The universe is no longer in their favor. Their resistance to the chosen one, to destiny itself, has set in motion a chain of events that they cannot stop. Have you ever wondered how it feels to stand against something greater than yourself, to challenge a force that is beyond your control? This is what the enemy faces, an invisible power that works behind the scenes, slowly unraveling their life, piece by piece. They may try to fight it, to push back, but the more they resist, the more they are drawn into the vortex of their own destruction. But the Lord is with me like a mighty warrior, so my persecutors will stumble and not prevail. Jeremiah 20:11. As the disturbance grows, the enemy is left with only one option: to surrender. The harder they fight, the deeper they fall into chaos. Their lives become consumed with the turmoil they have created. This is not the work of the chosen one, nor is it the result of anything they have done. It is the natural consequence of challenging divine will. And the longer the enemy resists, the more they lose peace, security, and ultimately their sense of self. When we stand in opposition to destiny, we must remember that we are not simply fighting against another person. We are fighting against the hand of God, against the greater plan that has already been set in motion. And when we fight against that, we must ask ourselves, what will be the cost? How long can we stand against something that has already been decreed? For those who fight against the chosen, the consequences are clear. There will be no escape from the torment, no peace to be found. The longer the resistance, the greater the disturbance, until finally they realize that they are not just fighting the chosen, they are fighting fate itself. These are situations that, at first glance, might seem like coincidences or simple bad luck. A meeting that gets cancelled last minute. Money that was supposed to come in but gets delayed indefinitely. A cherished object that breaks for no apparent reason. A seemingly perfect plan that fails to execute as expected. To an outside observer, these might just seem like ordinary mishaps, part of the natural ebb and flow of life. But to those living through it, day after day, there is a deep, unsettling feeling that something invisible is working against every detail of their routine. It's as if there's a force at play, a power that is deliberately disrupting their every step. At first, these small setbacks might be shrugged off as nothing more than chance. It happens to everyone, the enemy might think. It's just bad luck. But over time, the pattern becomes too noticeable to ignore. It's not just one thing going wrong, it's everything. The more they try to move forward, the more obstacles appear in their path. It's as if every time they take one step forward, they are pulled 2 steps back. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. Psalm 37-23, 2-4. The impact of these setbacks is not just external. It carries a heavy psychological weight. The frustration grows. Every failure, every door that doesn't open, every plan that falters, builds on the next. The sense of helplessness increases, leaving the enemy feeling trapped in a cycle of repeated misfortune. It becomes more than just inconvenience. It starts to feel like an attack, like the universe itself is conspiring to prevent them from moving forward. How many times can someone be knocked down before they begin to question, why is this happening to me? Is there something more at work here than just random chance? This is where the unseen nature of the battle becomes clearer. It's as if the enemy is trying to advance on ground that constantly turns into quicksand. The more they struggle, the deeper they sink. They might try to fight against the tide, to push through each obstacle with sheer willpower, but it's never enough. They cannot gain solid ground, and no matter how hard they try, they are only pulled deeper into frustration, confusion, and failure. The Lord frustrates the plans of the peoples, but the plans of the Lord stand firm forever. Psalm 33:10-11. At this point, the enemy begins to realize something profound. Nothing happens by chance. These small setbacks are not mere accidents. They are signals, silent warnings that something far greater is at work. Every failure, every door that doesn't open, is a reminder that fighting against someone who is chosen by God is not just a bad choice, it's a fatal mistake. The divine purpose of the chosen cannot be thwarted by human effort. They might not yet fully understand it, but with each passing setback, the enemy is being shown that their resistance is futile. What is it that makes them continue this fight, even when they are losing so much? What makes them try to defy destiny when every force seems to be pulling them back? Perhaps it's pride, or a refusal to accept that they might be up against something they cannot control. Or maybe it's just the human nature to resist change, even when the change is inevitable. The wicked plots against the just, and gnashes at him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he sees that his day is coming. Psalm 37, 12. For those who are fighting against the chosen, the more they struggle, the more they are bound by a growing sense of frustration. And it's not just the physical setbacks that are weighing them down. It's the spiritual impact of these setbacks, the awareness, however subconscious, that they are fighting something far greater than themselves. These small obstacles are not just nuisances. They are the echoes of divine judgment, the subtle reminder that they are challenging God's plan. But why is it that these small setbacks are so powerful? Why do they carry such a heavy weight? It's because they are not random. They are the spiritual consequences of standing in opposition to the chosen. The more the enemy resists, the greater the consequences become. The pattern becomes undeniable. The more they fight, the more they lose. And with each failure, the frustration grows, leading them to question, why can't I get ahead? What am I missing? The answer lies in the spiritual laws at work. The universe is not a neutral entity. There are forces at play, forces that govern the balance of life and destiny. The chosen ones walk in alignment with these forces, guided by divine purpose. When the enemy tries to disrupt this divine order, they are up against something far more powerful than any human opposition. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6-7. And yet, even as these setbacks continue to mount, the enemy cannot escape the lesson being taught. There is no simple way out of this spiritual conflict. No matter how much they try to resist or deny the truth, they are bound to face the consequences of their actions. Every time they attempt to fight against the chosen, they are met with failure, and that failure drives them deeper into the web of frustration and doubt. So, what can the enemy do in the face of this seemingly unrelenting struggle? Is there a way out of this cycle of failure and frustration? The truth is, the only way out is surrender. The only way to break free from the torment of resistance is to accept the divine will at work and stop fighting against it. The chosen one's path is already written. The victory is already assured. No matter how many setbacks come, no matter how many doors close, the chosen one will always rise again. And no matter how many attempts the enemy makes to thwart that path, it will always fail. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16-9. The enemy can only fight against what has already been decreed for so long before they are forced to confront the truth. They are not fighting against a mere person. They are fighting against destiny itself. And when you fight against destiny, the result is always the same: loss, frustration, and a sense of helplessness. For those who are chosen, the message is clear. No matter how many setbacks you face, no matter how many doors seem to close, your path cannot be altered. The obstacles you face are not signs of weakness. They are signs that the divine plan is at work. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. Keep walking, for each step you take brings you closer to the fulfillment of your purpose. And for those who resist, the message is just as clear. Surrender now, before the weight of your frustration becomes too much to bear. The battle is already over. Destiny has already chosen its victor. Fighting against it only brings more defeat. The enemy tries to find logical explanations, trying to make sense of what is happening. They think of bad luck, they blame others, and search desperately for justifications. But deep down, there is a discomfort they can't erase, a nagging, unshakable feeling that something bigger is intervening, that they are being influenced by forces beyond their understanding. They might try to convince themselves that it's all just a series of unfortunate events or coincidences. But no matter how much they search for an explanation, the unease lingers, and the sense that something divine is at work cannot be ignored. What's curious about these setbacks is that they don't stop. On the contrary, they begin to multiply and accumulate. What once felt like isolated incidents now seems like an ongoing series of challenges. A cancelled meeting, a delayed payment, a broken object at first, these may have been minor annoyances. But now, each new setback feels like a weight added to an already overburdened soul. The more the enemy tries to resist, the more intense the discomfort becomes. It's as if the universe itself is conspiring against them. The Lord frustrates the plans of the peoples, but the plans of the Lord stand firm forever. Psalm 33:10-11. Situations that were once easy to resolve now become complicated, dragging the enemy deeper into a pit of frustration. What was once routine and simple now becomes an enormous challenge. Every step forward is met with resistance, and every door that seemed open is slammed shut. The enemy's life, once filled with clear paths and smooth roads, is now a chaotic mess, like a puzzle always missing the last piece. This isn't just bad luck, it's something deeper, something invisible. And this isn't the end of it. No, this is just the beginning. These setbacks are only the first signs of something much larger. It's like a storm that begins with a few drops of rain, small, almost harmless at first. But as time passes, those few drops turn into a torrential downpour. What seemed insignificant at first soon becomes a force too powerful to control. The enemy cannot stop it, no matter how hard they try. Have you ever experienced a series of small, seemingly unrelated failures that, over time, built into something so overwhelming that you couldn't even see the way out? Have you ever found yourself trying to make sense of it, only to realize that you're fighting something that doesn't follow the logic you understand? The enemy in this situation is like that they are trapped in a web that grows tighter with every attempt to escape. At first, the enemy may not fully understand what is happening. They might think they can weather the storm. They tell themselves, "It's just a bad phase, I can turn it around." But as time goes on, things only get worse. What were once minor stumbles now turn into painful falls. The setbacks grow in severity, as if every detail of life begins to conspire against them. Important business ventures that once seemed secure fail unexpectedly. Relationships that once felt solid begin to crumble for no apparent reason. Even health, which once seemed unshakable, begins to show signs of weakness, as though the very body itself is being worn down by the opposition to destiny. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. Proverbs 24:16. At this moment, the enemy begins to realize something far more disturbing. They can't regain control. No matter what they do, no matter how hard they try to fix things, their efforts are in vain. They try new strategies, they look for shortcuts, and they exhaust themselves trying to turn things around. But with every attempt, the results slip away like sand through their fingers. Every plan they make falters. Every step they take seems to lead them deeper into confusion. The more they try to fight, the more life seems to close in on them, tightening its grip with every passing day. And it's not just the material losses. What's even more unsettling for the enemy is the deeper, more personal toll that these setbacks take. Their emotional and spiritual state begins to deteriorate as well. The weight of constant failure, the growing sense of helplessness, begins to take its toll on their peace of mind. The mental strain grows, and they start to question themselves, their choices, and their very purpose. For the wicked will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land. Psalm 37:7. The enemy's torment is not just external, it is internal as well. They feel as though they are trapped in a cycle they cannot break free from. Even if they turn to old comforts, distractions, or temporary pleasures, they find no peace. The discomfort that once started as a slight irritation has now become a full-fledged storm in their minds and hearts. It's as if their very soul is being crushed under the weight of resistance to the divine will. At this point, the enemy is faced with a choice. They can continue to fight against what is inevitable, or they can surrender to the truth. Fighting against the divine purpose is a battle they cannot win. No matter how many plans they make or strategies they devise, they will never regain control, because the more they resist, the more the universe pushes them toward the inevitable. The forces at work are far greater than anything they can understand. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:8-9. The greater the enemy's resistance, the more their world unravels, and they are left with nothing but the crushing weight of their own defeat. For every setback they face, the consequences grow more profound, until their entire life begins to crumble. Every step forward becomes a battle, and the more they struggle, the more they lose. But what happens when the enemy finally reaches the breaking point? When they realize they have fought against destiny for so long that there's nothing left. In that moment, they may feel as though they have lost everything. But the truth is, they have only lost their resistance. In surrendering to the inevitable, they might finally be able to see the path forward. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. Psalm 37:11. For those who continue to resist, the consequences will only become more severe. The longer they fight, the deeper they sink into the quicksand of their own frustration and defeat. The more they try to control what is beyond their power, the more they will lose. The only way out is to surrender, to accept the divine will, and allow the hand of fate to lead them. But for the chosen, the path is clear. No matter how many setbacks, no matter how many doors are closed, they will continue to walk forward, protected by a divine purpose that cannot be stopped. There's an undeniable feeling of invisible blockage, as if every door is being locked one by one, and the world that once flowed with ease now feels like a distant memory. What was once a smooth, uninterrupted journey now feels like walking through quicksand. Every step forward is met with resistance. Invitations stop coming, opportunities disappear like smoke in the wind, and trusted people begin to walk away without explanation. It's not just a passing moment of misfortune, it's a slow, silent collapse, a gradual erosion that grows so powerful it becomes impossible to ignore. The Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated between you and your God. Isaiah 59:1-2. These misfortunes are not mere coincidences. They are the reflection of an immutable, divine principle, one that cannot be undone by human will. Whoever rises against the chosen one ends up rising against the very force that sustains them. The divine protection surrounding the chosen one is not only spiritual, it is an impenetrable barrier. And when someone challenges that force, they find themselves fighting not just against the person, but against what has been written from on high. No human power, no matter how great, can stand against a force that has been decreed by the Creator. The scariest realization for the enemy is when they come to understand that at this point, they are no longer merely dealing with external problems. They may have started out thinking that their misfortunes were just coincidences, but the growing weight of these setbacks begins to make them question the nature of what they're facing. They're not simply struggling with bad luck or unfavorable circumstances. They are facing something spiritual, something far beyond the natural realm. The more they try to fight it, the more they sink into chaos. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. They begin to feel as though a shadow is constantly hovering over them, a shadow that serves as a haunting reminder that challenging someone who carries the light of God is to walk into darkness. The weight of this realization becomes suffocating. They may try to distract themselves, to find solace in temporary comforts, but the gnawing feeling that something unseen is conspiring against them never leaves. And this is when the next consequence sets in: isolation. As the enemy's mental state deteriorates, their world shrinks. They feel it first as a subtle distancing, an eerie silence creeping into their relationships. The people who once supported them, those who were once close allies, now seem to withdraw. Friends, family members, co-workers, one by one, they begin to slip away. What was once a solid network of support becomes a hollow shell. Invitations stop arriving, calls become rare. Those who were once loyal begin to look at them with suspicion or simply disappear altogether. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. Hosea 8-7. This isolation is not accidental. It's not a simple case of people growing tired of the enemy's company. It is the withdrawal of human support, orchestrated by the spiritual forces at work, to demonstrate that there is no escape from the consequences of opposing someone chosen by God. It is as if fate itself is stepping in to show the enemy the true weight of their resistance. At first, the enemy may not understand why this is happening. They may think they have been betrayed or abandoned by their loved ones. They might try to convince themselves that the people around them are the ones who have changed. But deep down, they sense the truth. Their actions have led them to a point where even the most loyal people are distancing themselves. It's not that the enemy has lost their relationships. They are being forced into isolation, as if the very nature of their spiritual opposition to the chosen one has created a rift between them and everyone else. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are strong, but do not look to the Holy One of Israel, or consult the Lord. Isaiah 31:1. What's more disturbing is that as the enemy becomes more isolated, the spiritual weight they carry begins to have a physical manifestation. It's as if the emotional and psychological torment, which once seemed to be confined to the mind and external events, now starts to invade their very body. What many call invisible illness begins to take hold, strange, unexplained symptoms that defy medical explanation. These are not common physical ailments that can be diagnosed with a simple test or treated with medication. No, these are afflictions that appear with no clear cause, no visible origin. At first, these symptoms may be subtle: a headache that won't go away, a persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest, a feeling of heaviness or weakness that doesn't seem to have a physical source. But as time passes, these symptoms become more intense, more debilitating. The enemy might go from doctor to doctor, trying to find a solution, but no one can explain what is happening. It's as if their body is reacting to something spiritual, something much deeper than just physical illness. Have you ever experienced a sense of deep unease in your body, as though something in your soul was manifesting physically? What happens when the mind is overwhelmed by guilt or fear, and the body begins to show the effects of that inner turmoil? It's an uncomfortable reality that the enemy must now face. They have resisted a force far greater than themselves, and their own body has become a reflection of that resistance. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. The isolation and physical affliction are not just signs of misfortune. They are evidence of a deeper spiritual war at play. The enemy may have thought they were fighting against the chosen one, but in truth, they are fighting against something much greater. Their physical deterioration is a reminder that no one can stand against the forces of divine will. The more they resist, the more they are consumed, not only by the invisible force that opposes them, but by their own inner conflict. It is in this deep isolation, this spiritual and physical decay, that the enemy reaches their breaking point. The more they try to fight, the more they become ensnared in the consequences of their actions. The weight of their resistance is too much to bear, and the more they resist, the more the world around them crumbles. Relationships are severed, support systems are eroded, and they are left with nothing but the oppressive force of their own guilt manifested in every part of their existence. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. Proverbs 4:19. At this moment, the enemy begins to see the truth. No matter how much they try to control their destiny, they are powerless in the face of divine will. And it is only when they are left with nothing, when the spiritual weight they carry becomes unbearable, that they may begin to realize the full extent of their mistake. They are not just fighting a person, they are fighting destiny itself. And when you fight destiny, the results are inevitable. Constant fatigue that doesn't improve, pain that comes and goes unpredictably, increasingly intense insomnia, palpitations, anxiety attacks. These are the symptoms that begin to dominate the enemy's life. Even simple tasks become exhausting. Every movement feels laborious, and the world seems shrouded in an unshakable heaviness. It is a feeling of being drained, as though something is literally sucking the life force from them. For a while, the enemy might try to ignore these symptoms, but the intensity only grows. There's a constant feeling in their chest, a pressure in their shoulders, as if the weight of their actions is manifesting physically, slowly wearing them down. The Lord will sustain him on his sickbed and restore him from his bed of illness. Psalm 41:3. What is most frightening about these physical manifestations is that when the enemy seeks medical help, there's often no clear diagnosis. Tests come back normal, and the doctors find nothing physically wrong. The enemy may feel as though they're caught in a strange limbo, where their body is telling them one thing, but the external world doesn't acknowledge it. It's as though their physical ailment is invisible to the outside world, an ailment that cannot be treated with medicine or care. But this illness is not just in the body. It originates in the soul, slowly spreading to the mind, and then, like an unrelenting wave, finally manifests physically. At this point, there is no denying it. Something beyond the physical is at work. Have you ever felt an illness that no one could diagnose? A sickness that didn't show up in any test or scan, yet it drained you to your core? What happens when the body rebels against a force that doesn't make sense? The enemy is now in the grip of this invisible force, feeling its consequences with each passing day. Their body, mind, and spirit are marked by a price that cannot be paid in conventional ways. They are beginning to understand that what they are experiencing is a direct consequence of opposing someone divinely protected. The soul who sins is the one who will die. Ezekiel 18:20. This illness is not just physical, it is spiritual. The enemy feels as if the same sentence that has been placed on their spirit is now being reflected in their body. The weight of their resistance, the burden of rising against someone marked by divine favor, corrodes their vitality. The energy that accompanies them, this heavy, oppressive force, seems to drain their strength, leaving them vulnerable, weak, and unable to fight back. As this physical and spiritual decay continues, something even more disturbing begins to happen. They lose the sparkle in their eyes, the vitality of life. It's as if the will to continue vanishes, replaced by a profound sense of emptiness and despair. Their soul is weighed down by the consequences of their actions, and they begin to see themselves unravel before their own eyes. For they sow the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. Hosea 8-7. For some, this phase is marked by a deep emotional crisis, an almost endless sadness and despair. They may find themselves unable to focus on anything but the overwhelming sense of loss and futility. The life they once controlled, the plans they had meticulously laid out, begin to crumble beneath the weight of their resistance. It is the invisible harvest of having touched someone who carries a light that cannot be extinguished. And this harvest is not one of growth, but of decay. But this phase of illness, isolation, and spiritual erosion is only the beginning of something far more painful: the shattering of pride. Pride, that inner fortress that once made the enemy feel invincible, now becomes the very thing that binds them. The pride they once relied on to fuel their arrogance and sense of superiority becomes their greatest weakness. It is this pride that allowed them to mock the chosen one, to believe that they could overpower someone blessed by divine favor. But now, as the weight of fate begins to take its toll, this same pride becomes the trap that holds them in place, refusing to let go. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. At this point, the enemy is confronted with their greatest humiliation. Their body fails them, their health is slipping away, and they can no longer sustain the image of power and control they once held. Pride, which once gave them the strength to stand against the chosen one, now exposes their deepest vulnerabilities. Life, in its cruel irony, begins to expose the very weaknesses they have always tried to hide. Those who once admired them, who once looked up to them, now witness their failures. The enemy who once mocked, belittled, and tried to humiliate the chosen one now finds themselves humiliated before everyone. What happens when the thing that gave you strength, the pride, the arrogance, becomes the very thing that leads to your downfall? How do you reconcile your image of invincibility when the world around you sees only your collapse? This is the moment when the enemy begins to truly feel the weight of their actions. They cannot maintain the image of power, for it is being stripped away piece by piece. Every failure is a reminder of the pride that once propelled them, now a broken and shattered illusion. But he gives more grace. Therefore it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. James 4-6. At this point, the enemy's once strong sense of control over their life is replaced by an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. The walls they built with pride have crumbled, and there is nowhere left to hide. Their sense of superiority, their belief that they were above the divine forces that guide the chosen, is now exposed as a fragile, hollow shell. It is in this moment that they are truly confronted by the consequences of their actions, and the price they must pay for rising against someone chosen by God becomes all too real. As they lose everything, peace, health, relationships, pride, they are left to face the truth. No matter how much power they thought they had, it was nothing compared to the divine strength that protected the chosen one. The humbling reality is this: when you fight against destiny, you fight against a force that cannot be beaten. The pride that once fueled their arrogance is now their greatest humiliation, and it is through this humbling that they are forced to confront the truth of their resistance. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. James 4:10. At this crossroads, the enemy faces the ultimate question: will they continue to resist, or will they surrender? The longer they fight, the deeper the consequences will grow. The shattering of pride is only the beginning. And in that moment of destruction, there is a chance for the enemy to change, to recognize the forces at play, and perhaps to embrace a new path, one that leads to humility rather than destruction. This is not just any humiliation. It's not a mere loss of a job or a thwarted plan. It's a fall that strikes deep at the very core of the soul, one that reveals to the world that all the power, confidence, and control the enemy once held were nothing but fleeting illusions. It's as though the mask has been ripped away, and what was hidden beneath is exposed. The enemy, once filled with pride and certainty, begins to realize a terrifying truth. They are not invincible. The control they once thought they had was never real, and this realization hurts deeper than any setback, any illness, or any misfortune. The pain comes not only from the external failures, but from within. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. Their pride, which once bolstered them, becomes the very thing that shatters them. The enemy feels an unbearable sting in their heart, their ego bruised beyond repair, their sense of self slowly disintegrating. It's at this moment that many will cling desperately to what little remains of their status. They may feign strength and confidence, pretending to hold the reins of their life. But in truth, the more they try to rise again through their arrogance, the deeper they fall. Have you ever witnessed someone desperately trying to hold on to their image, even when they know deep down that everything is slipping away? What happens when pride, the very thing that once fueled their confidence, is the same thing that causes their undoing? The more the enemy tries to push forward, the more the weight of their own actions pulls them down. They attempt to resist fate, but fate has a relentless way of showing that no one, no matter how powerful they once seemed, can stand against those chosen by divine will. The image of power begins to crumble bit by bit. What was once unshakable and formidable is now an example of weakness and inevitable fall. The enemy, who once stood tall and confident, now faces the humiliation of being exposed for what they truly are, a fragile human being whose pride led them into a fight they could never win. For the Lord brings low the one who dwells on high, and the lofty city he lays low. Isaiah 26:5. Shame replaces pride, and the voice that once raised itself against the chosen becomes silent, as if the world itself has stolen the ability to speak. But there is something darker still awaiting those who defy fate. It is the final verdict, the indisputable proof that no one, no matter how mighty they seem, can win when fighting against what has already been written by heaven. After enduring so much torment, disturbed thoughts, growing setbacks, isolation, invisible illness, and the crushing weight of humiliation, the inevitable moment comes. This is the moment the enemy faces the full, undeniable truth of their folly. It is the point when the enemy clearly and irrevocably realizes that fighting against the chosen one was not only risky, but utterly futile. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6-7. The actions they took in opposition to the chosen, no matter how clever, strategic, or forceful, return to them with an inevitable vengeance. Every move made to undermine, hurt, or deceive only brings back the consequences of their defiance, as a mirror reflecting their own rebellion. Nothing the enemy has built through pride, strength, or cunning can withstand the greater force that surrounds the chosen. Doors that once seemed to open with ease now close definitively. Control that once seemed secure slips away like water through their fingers. Life, which once felt manipulable and predictable, becomes a twisted maze with no escape. In that moment, the enemy is left standing at the crossroads of defeat, staring into a void where their past power and control no longer hold sway. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. Proverbs 4:19. It is the moment when one can no longer deny the truth. Destiny always prevails. Every setback, every loss, every painful isolation was not the result of some random misfortune, but an inevitable consequence of defying something greater than themselves. The more the enemy fought, the more they pushed against divine purpose, the greater the consequences they faced. What was once seen as bad luck or simple misfortune is now revealed as the natural spiritual retribution for standing in opposition to the Chosen One. What is left for the enemy when all that they once held onto has crumbled away? How do they face the truth when they finally realize that their fight was never against a mere mortal, but against fate itself? The final verdict is not just a matter of external defeat. It is an internal realization, a painful acknowledgement that everything they once believed in, everything they once valued, is now lost. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. 1 Samuel 2:10. At this point, the enemy is left with no more illusions. Their strength is gone, their pride is shattered, and all that remains is the undeniable truth: they were never in control. No matter how hard they tried, no matter how many schemes they devised, no matter how much power they amassed, they were never able to stand against the divine will. The Chosen One, marked by a force far greater than themselves, remains untouched while the enemy is left in ruins. This final verdict is not a single event. It is the culmination of a process that began with a defiance of destiny. The enemy may have thought they could alter the course of fate, but in the end, it is fate that has the last word. As they stand in the aftermath, they are confronted with the overwhelming reality. They fought not just against a person, but against the divine plan of the universe itself. And now, the greatest question remains: is there any way for the enemy to redeem themselves from this final defeat? Is there any possibility of healing or restoration, or is this the inevitable end of a journey that began with pride and resistance? As we've explored together, the struggle of those who rise against the chosen is not merely an external battle, it's a spiritual and emotional war. Every setback, every step backward they face is not just random, it's the inevitable consequence of defying a destiny that was already set in motion. Facing a force greater than themselves is an unavoidable challenge, and in the end, those who oppose the light will come to realize that no matter how hard they fight, they can never overcome what has been ordained by a higher power. Remember, every challenge in life isn't meaningless. Every hardship, every loss, and every trial you face leads you closer to a deeper understanding of your divine purpose. If you feel like you are in the darkness, know that the light is always waiting for you on the other side. The chosen ones never walk alone. They are protected and guided by a force that cannot be broken. So, to all of you watching, are you ready to embrace and live according to your divine destiny? Don't forget that within each of us lies a light, a strength that surpasses any trial, if only we allow it to guide us. If this video has helped you realize the potential within you and the purpose you're walking towards, don't hesitate to share it with those around you. Be sure to like if you found this video inspiring and share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly appreciate hearing from you. Remember to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future videos packed with deep insights and messages to help you live a more fulfilling life, aligned with your true purpose. Whether or not you choose to support the channel through Super Thanks, we are deeply grateful for your presence and your support in every form. Your encouragement is what keeps us motivated to continue sharing these messages. Finally, I wish you and your loved ones health, peace, and prosperity. Always remember, you are never alone in this journey. The light of the Creator is always guiding your steps, and may you never lose faith in the beautiful path awaiting you. I wish you strength in overcoming every obstacle and fulfillment in your divine mission. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.